Mike, who always verbally abused and controlled me, was having an affair. During a trip with his mistress, they both got into an accident. When I went to visit, Mike dropped an astounding line.
"My husband is so cold-hearted. He definitely won't take care of me now that I'm paralyzed from the waist down."
Then, with full confidence, Mike declared,
"Don't worry, Anna. I'll have Rachel take care of both of us."
"What?" Mike turned to me, clasping his hands as if praying.
"Please, take care of us.
"I'm asking you to."
Let Anna decide the interior. You just quietly do as we say."
"Mike, you're really harsh on your wife."
She's just a housekeeper after all.
I felt a surge of intense anger at their presumptuousness. "Take care of them," he says. How dare he say that? He didn't even wash a single dish when I broke my arm. Why don't you ask your mistress? I am Rachel, a 52-year-old homemaker. I live with my husband Mike and his son from another relationship, Kevin. Mike seemed hard-working and sincere while we were dating, but after marriage, he turned out to be a domineering husband. Although confused, I found solace in Kevin, who lost his mother at a young age and treated me like his real mom. The bond between Mike and Kevin was heartwarming, so I couldn't bring myself to sever our newly formed family ties and decided to wait and see. I hoped Mike would change. I first felt uneasy 2 years after marriage. When Kevin reached 4th grade and I had more free time, I thought about starting to work. Mike, an alumnus of a prestigious private university, had been sending Kevin to tutoring since kindergarten, aiming for middle school entrance exams. Many of my mom friends with kids were preparing in the same way. They had started working when their kids grew up to some extent, which inspired me. Most of all, staying at home doing just childcare and housework made me feel isolated from society. Hey, Elizabeth and Victoria started part-time jobs. Maybe I should send out my resume too. If I work at a grocery checkout, I can be back by mid-afternoon. When I brought this up to Mike after he returned from work, he inexplicably got furious.
Are you saying I don't turn enough?
That's not what I'm talking about. You're a manager, and you earn well for someone in your 40s. I'm grateful for that. But we'll need more savings if Kevin wants to go to college. I couldn't understand why Mike was so angry. I tried to calmly persuade him.
We can manage on my salary alone, right?
For now, but if Kevin wants to go to an out-of-state college or live alone, we'll be stretched thin.
He's planning to attend my alma mater.
That's because you've talked it up so much. He might change his mind by 9th grade. Besides, we need to save for retirement. Then Mike scowled unpleasantly.
Do you want to live luxuriously on a homemaker's budget? I already let you go to the hair salon and buy clothes. Isn't that enough freedom?
I have to get your permission every time, don't I? Yes, I'd like more financial freedom. Then Mike looked at me suspiciously.
Are you having an affair?
I'm not. I retorted instantly. The conversation was veering off course. I'm talking about Kevin's educational funds, or do you really hate the idea of me working? Curious, I asked. Mike's lips curled in a frown.
Of course. It makes it look like I can support my family if my wife works.
What era are you living in? Nobody thinks like that anymore. I felt like he was stuck in the past, 1970s. I'm healthy and don't have small children or family members to care for. I get envious when I hear other moms starting to work.
Other people's business is irrelevant.
Mike raised his voice. He crossed his arms, looking down at me with a twisted smile.
Someone as dull as you couldn't possibly handle a job properly. You can't even do household chores perfectly, let alone balance them with a job.
What? If I start working, of course, I'd expect you to share the household chores. Then Mike shouted.
What? I can't relax even when I'm home. How much do you want me to work? Are you a demon wife?
I'm gonna balance work, household chores, and childcare, but doing it all alone is tough. That's why I want you to help. It's okay if you just help on the weekends.
The very idea of making a husband do household chores is wrong. A wife's job is to keep the house in order so that her husband can focus on his work. You can even do that perfectly, and you want to work. What are you thinking?
Enough. Feeling fed up, I ended the conversation. Working outside seemed like an impossible dream. I gave up on convincing Mike and continued as a homemaker, dedicating myself to household chores and childcare. Years later, while cycling to the nearby grocery store, I swerved to avoid a cat at a corner and crashed into a lamppost. Pain shot through my right arm, so instead of shopping, I went to an orthopedic clinic and found out I had a broken arm with a month-long recovery. Kevin, who was already in his senior year of high school, looked concerned when he saw my condition.
Ouch, that looks painful. I'll help with the chores as much as I can. You shouldn't overdo it, Mom.
Thank you, Kevin. That helps a lot. However, Mike's reaction was unexpectedly awful. He looked at my cast with annoyance and blurted out,
You can still make my lunch, right?
I'm sorry, but I can't use a knife with my dominant arm injured. Could you buy your own lunch for a while? Breakfast will be instant soup too for a while. Then, Mike got furiously red-faced.
A housewife you can clean or cook. If you can take care of your husband, you're useless. I won't support a freeloader.
But the doctor said I shouldn't move it too much. Sorry, can you bear with it for just a month? Trying to sound apologetic, he finally calmed down.
Huff. Can't kick out an injured person, I guess. Be grateful for my kindness in keeping such a useless burden around.
I was appalled by his arrogant tone, but I just smiled thinly and swallowed any retort. Then Mike really did nothing but keep me around, not even washing a single dish he used. Thanks to the kind Kevin, I managed to get by until my cast was removed. I didn't even tell my mother back home about the injury even if she called me. I didn't want Mother to worry her.
Your aunt passed away, didn't she? There are things to sort out, so come back home for a bit.
Yeah, but it's a 2-hour flight. I'll find time to come home soon. That's how I replied, and after the cast was removed, I went back to my parents' home under the pretext of seeing my mother. As college approached, Kevin was studying hard every night at the tutoring center, and taking extra classes during the holidays. I did what I could to support him, like preparing light midnight snack that wouldn't upset his stomach, and gathering information about his desired colleges. One day, just before a long weekend, Mike came home from work in an unusually cheerful mood and told me,
"Man, I've got a business trip over the long weekend. It's going to be so busy, really."
I had a hunch. It must be a trip with his mistress. I suspected this because, for the past few months, he suddenly started working late often. He became more concerned about his appearance, and his business trips to other cities increased. Recently, he even started taking his phone to the bathroom, which I found odd. That stuff. Are you going to New York, Chicago?
No, it's San Francisco, but it's not for sightseeing. Don't expect any souvenirs from Chinatown or anything.
Mike becomes talkative when he lies. He's never brought back souvenirs from his trips before. I almost laughed at his words. I watched him eagerly pack branded suits and shirts into his suitcase, and deliberately commented, "Seems like you're excited about this business trip."
Yay, I've got a golf game with a client. He's a great guy, and I'm really looking forward to having dinner with him.
Oh, is that so? There was even a San Francisco guidebook lying around. It was so blatantly obvious that I got angry. After Mike left, I spread a divorce form on the dining table. Recently, while he was asleep, I had unlocked his phone with his fingerprint and confirmed his affair.
Only you for me.
We need to be careful not to get caught by your wife.
Let's lie about a business trip and meet in a hotel.
I took photos of messages like these and sent them to my phone. There was no way he could deny it now. I plan to gather more evidence like photos of them together before confronting him with divorce, especially because I didn't want to upset Kevin before his exams. While tidying up the house, I received a call from an unknown number. It was from the emergency center of the city hospital.
Are you Mike Henderson's wife?
Yes.
Your husband has been in a car accident and is severely injured.
I gasped.
There is no immediate threat to his life, but he needs emergency surgery. Can you come now?
Understood. I was surprisingly shaken. Even though my affection for him had faded, it seemed I still cared. I quickly prepared some clothes and toiletries for his hospital stay and rushed to the center. When I arrived, I was immediately taken to see Mike. He was barely conscious, not even recognizing me. Blood seeped through the gauze on his forehead, and one side of his face was swollen and bruised. A doctor soon told me shocking news.
We did a CT scan and found that your husband has a spinal injury. Even with surgery, there's a high chance he will be paralyzed from the waist down.
Really?
Please proceed with the admission process.
Certainly. I stepped out into the hallway where a police officer was waiting. I wanted to know about the accident, but the other person in the car with Mike had been taken to surgery, and neither could talk. As the officers left, I asked, "What about the other person in the car?"
It was a woman in her 30s.
I thought so. I was slightly shocked, even though I had expected it. It must be his mistress. That night, Mike underwent surgery to repair his spinal injury. Some functions were restored, but he was left with lower body paralysis. I took care of the admission and surgery procedures, but couldn't bring myself to visit him afterward, asking Kevin instead. However, there was a day Kevin couldn't go, and only on that day, I packed Mike's clothes in a bag and went to the hospital. When I saw Mike for the first time in a month, he seemed surprisingly upbeat. I was shocked as I thought he would be distressed about his paralysis. He had started rehabilitation, and if things continued well, he could be discharged next month. That meant our house needed to be remodeled. Our home, an older house, had steps and narrow hallways, making it inconvenient for wheelchair access. He would get disability benefits, and it was possible for him to work from home. So money wasn't an issue. However, the thought of having to care for Mike weighed heavily on me. With this situation, it felt harder to bring up divorce, like I'd be abandoning an injured person. As I was about to leave after just handing over his clothes, Mike asked me to join him in the conversation room.
Thanks for coming. Let me treat you to a coffee as a thank you.
That's okay, you don't have to.
Don't be shy now.
I was puzzled and a bit worried. Was he okay? Did he hit his head and go crazy, offering to buy me coffee? But the mystery cleared up when we went to the lounge. In a deserted room, there was a woman in a wheelchair, just like Mike, waiting for us.
Anna, it's been a day.
Mike, I've missed you. Being so busy with tests and rehab, hardly got to see you.
Seeing Mike act all sweet, I tensed up. Ah, so she's the woman. Indeed, they were in a car accident while out on a date. I watched them hug, leaning forward in their wheelchairs, with a disgusted look in my eyes. What's he thinking, bringing me and his mistress together?
Mike, you're so lucky to have a caring son. You'll be in good hands even after you leave the hospital.
Anna sighed.
My husband's so cold, he'd never take care of me now that I can't use my legs.
Then Mike boasted confidently.
Don't worry, Anna. I'll have Rachel take care of both of us.
What? While Anna and I were surprised, Mike turned to me, pleading with his hands together.
Please, take care of us.
Got right. Taking care of one or two's the same, isn't it?
Anne agreed, mimicking Mike's gesture.
Please, Rachel, and hey, while we're at it, make our room cute when you renovate for accessibility. Can't stand living in a tacky room.
Yeah, right. Hey, let Anna decide the interior. Rachel, you've got the worst taste. Just listen to what we say.
Mike, you're harsh with your wife.
Of course, she's just a maid, after all.
Their conversation filled me with rage. I thought to myself, take care of you. Who do you think you are? You didn't even wash a dish when I broke my arm. What? Why don't you ask your mistress? I snapped coldly, and they too stared at me in surprise.
Come on, what are you saying? She's in a wheelchair too. She can't take care of me.
Mike frowned, then had an idea.
Aw, my bad. I didn't introduce her properly. Rachel, this is Anna Norris, my boss, Robert's wife.
I know. Hi, I'm Anna. Anna greeted me with a sweet, cloying voice.
Ma'am, you might be misunderstanding something. I'm just someone he's been giving advice to.
Mike nodded along.
I'm 17 years older than Anna. No way she's my mistress.
She likes older men, right? Your boss is 3 years older than you. Mike was surprised.
You know a lot. Well, she seems to like older men, but do I look like the type to mess with my boss's wife?
I looked at Mike coldly. Yes, I know very well what kind of person you are. Unaware of my disdain, Mike passionately spun his tall tales.
Remember when the boss invited us to golf? I visited his house that time. Since then, I've been talking to her and giving her some advice.
That's right. He's so dependable. I end up telling him all sorts of things, like my troubles with other moms. Oh, Rachel, are you jealous? Sorry about that.
Anna said that with a sly smile. How, during our 10 years of marriage, whenever I complained, you just yelled at me, and you mocked me when I shared my worries.
Well, that's because your stuff was just too trivial. I didn't think it was worth my time.
Mike mumbled, making excuses.
This time, we just happened to meet on the street. We had time before the plane, so we decided to find a place to sit and talk. Then, unfortunately, we got into an accident. Bad luck for us, ho.
I couldn't help but be amazed at how effortlessly he lied. But Anna went along with it, smiling.
Really? We just wanted to have tea and talk, then this accident happens. But now that Rachel will take care of us, I feel relieved.
Anna sent me a flirtatious look. Don't make decisions on your own. I never said I'd take care of you both. I snapped back, and Anna let out a mocking laugh with a low voice.
But Rachel, you're taking care of Mike's son, aren't you? If you can take care of a child who's not your own blood, you should be glad to take care of me, his boss's wife, right?
Of course she is. Right, Rachel? I've been supporting you for these 10 years. It's only right you take care of me and Anna now as a way to return a favor.
I was speechless at his absurd logic. Just a friend you're consulting, huh? Even a middle schooler could come up with a better excuse. I glared at them both and spat out. Why don't you just admit it? You've been cheating.
Cheating? Where's your proof?
Mike's voice cracked. He was clearly flustered.
Yay, if you think we're more than friends, show us the proof.
I pulled out my phone, showing them the intimate conversations and photos of Mike and Anna in bed together, making Mike turn pale.
You, snooping through my phone. That's low. Even for spouses, there are things you just don't do.
You're one to talk about being low. Our son is working hard studying for his exams, and you're cheating with your boss's wife. You're the worst father.
Shut up. You're not even his real mother, so don't act all high and mighty.
Mike's words stung. True, even though I love Kevin like my own son, I can't compete with his blood father, Mike. My hesitation to divorce stemmed from the fear, what if Kevin chose Mike over me? As I bit my lip, the sound of wheels echoed down the quiet hallway. A nurse pushed in a bed, heading our way. The nurse stopped the bed next to me. I glanced at the person lying there and screamed out loud. Robert.
Huh, Robert?
Mike exclaimed in a baffled tone. And he hurried over in his wheelchair.
Robert, I'll be back for you in 30 minutes. Understood. Thank you.
After the nurse bowed and left the lounge, Robert used the bed's reclining feature to sit up. I was surprised. I heard you were discharged, so I didn't expect to see you here at this hour.
Haha, sorry to startle you.
Robert laughed, shaking his shoulders.
I told Anna about it. Didn't want her to run away, so I made sure she didn't tell Mike.
I heard you had a full body bruise. Did they find something else wrong?
Yeah, I felt worse last night. They admitted me to take another CT and MRI, just to be safe.
Were you injured too?
Mike sounded puzzled, and Anna made a guilty face. I wondered to myself, hasn't Mike heard from Anna about this? I had heard from a police officer on the day of the accident. The reason Mike was seriously injured was that he crashed into a car stopped at a red light at high speed. And I had received a call from Robert himself, who was the other party involved. It turned out that Robert was the one Mike hit, and his wife was in the passenger seat with Mike. From Anna's reaction, it seemed like Robert had come to visit her. And Anna kept quiet on his orders about the fact that the other party was him, and even about coming to the lounge tonight to talk with Mike.
The car you hit at 95 miles per hour was mine. You were unconscious and didn't realize it.
What?
I was conscious, so I knew.
Anna said, sounding annoyed, and Mike's eyes widened.
Then why didn't you tell me?
When the accident happened, I did say, it's my husband's car.
Not that. I mean, we even had a date here the day before yesterday. Right. You should have told me then.
If I had told you, my husband said he would demand $50,000 for infidelity.
Anna snapped back. Until just now, she had seemed so sweet, but now she was screaming like a demon.
I never intended to divorce my husband. It was just a fling with you. But because of your mistake, my husband found out, and now look at the state I'm in. I'm still young, and my life's a mess. Divorce is certain. It's all your fault. How are you going to make this right?
Anna.
Mike looked at her with fearful eyes.
I'm sorry. It's all my fault.
So, I'll forgive the alimony as a substitute for divorcing Anna. But of course, I'll be billing you. Pay up the $50,000.
Robert said with a wicked smile.
And Mike, your insurance had expired, right? You'll compensate for the medical expenses for me and Anna. And the $200,000 BMW you wrecked, right?
Of course you'll pay, right? I asked you to drive slowly, but you had to show off and speed like that. Stupid.
Anna blamed Mike in a sharp tone.
And while I'm at it, let me tell you something. All you do is brag about your son. It's so annoying.
Anna twisted her face.
You talk about him having the same elite qualities as you, getting into a national university after middle school exams, but who cares? For a manager, you're stingy with gifts, and the hotels and restaurants you choose are second-rate. I thought being married to someone like you would be lame, and I was right.
What did you say? I don't want to be lectured by a woman who cheated with him. I quickly retorted. He's just high on himself, thinking I'm so attractive to my boss's wife. It was just about looking cool to any young, pretty woman. That's why you drove recklessly, right? Mike looked down guilt-illy, as if I had hit the nail on the head. If he really cared about you, he would have driven more carefully. And to think you're making me deal with your mistress, too, what a bad joke.
Shut up.
Mike snapped at me, then hesitantly spoke to Anna.
Anna, you're divorcing Robert, right? So, it's no problem if you're with me.
He persisted even now.
No way.
Anna rebuffed him.
I'll just rent an apartment after I get discharged and live alone with the help of a caregiver. I never want to see your face again after what you've put me through.
She then pointed her finger at me and laughed mockingly.
This guy, after all his harsh words to you, is asking you to take care of him. How much is he disrespecting you? You're finished as a person. Pathetic.
Hey, Anna.
Bye-bye. Don't contact me ever again.
With that, Anna confidently maneuvered her wheelchair and returned to her hospital room.
Mike, I'll be sending you the bill for the alimony, medical expenses, and car damages after you're discharged.
Once the conversation was over, a nurse who had been waiting outside the lounge came in. As Robert's bed was pushed away by the nurse and disappeared around the corner of the hallway, Mike, who had been watching, burst out in anger.
Damn that woman. She was head over heels for me, but the moment I became paralyzed, she turned her back on me.
He came over in his wheelchair and clung to my arm.
You'll take care of me, right? You're my wife, after all.
I refuse. I pulled out a divorce paper and a pen from my bag and slammed them on the table. I thought I'd endure it until the exams were over, but I've reached my limit. Sign this right now. Mike's eyes widened. Then he said bitterly,
Ha, you're seriously thinking of divorcing me after I've taken care of you for 10 years. This is just too selfish.
Who took care of whom, exactly? I retorted. Do you remember what you said when I broke my arm? If you can't take care of your husband, there's no point in you being here. I'm not going to support a freeloader. Be grateful for my kindness in keeping such a useless burden around. Even now, those words sting. I let out all the frustration I'd been holding back for years. You said that and never even washed a single dish you used. And now that you're paralyzed, you expect me to take care of you. Don't joke with me. Mike frowned.
Your injury was due to your own carelessness. There's no need for me to cover for you.
Well, then, since your injury was due to your own carelessness, I don't need to take care of you either.
Fine, I get it. I'll sign the damn thing.
Mike scribbled his signature on the divorce paper in frustration.
Don't come crying to me later. I'll never remarry you.
Sure, Kevin, what's wrong? Visiting hours are almost over. I was puzzled when Kevin rushed into the lounge. Without responding, Kevin hurried to Mike and shouted unusually loudly.
Dad, the money for my college entrance fee is gone. Do you know anything about it?
Oh, I used it.
I was speechless, seeing Mike answered nonchalantly. Kevin's kind face twisted with anger.
Are you serious? Taking money from someone else's savings, that's messed up.
Did you spend it on your mistress? I asked him, feeling incredulous. Mike admitted it without hesitation.
Yeah. What's wrong with a parent using their child's money?
Kevin and I stared at Mike. Do you even realize what you've done?
I'm the father. I can do whatever I want.
Mike's smug smile sent chills down my spine.
Anyway, how are you going to survive without me? What company would hire a 52-year-old housewife
Didn't you hear, Dad?
Kevin said with a mix of astonishment and disgust.
Mom just inherited $1 million from her late aunt.
Really? What?
Kevin, you spilled the beans too early. I said that laughingly. Well, that's how it is. Oh, but I'll still be asking for alimony, so make sure you pay up.
Heck, fine. Kevin, I'm counting on you to take care of me after I'm discharged.
Mike tried to smile at Kevin, his voice shaking.
Even if we're divorced, we're still father and son. You'll be taking care of me for the rest of your life, okay?
Seriously, after you squandered my money, you have the nerve to ask me for help. What are you thinking?
Kevin said with a cold smile.
Besides, I'm going to a college out of state, so it's impossible.
What? No, you're supposed to go to my alma mater, right?
I changed my plans a long time ago. I tried to tell you, but you were too busy working to listen.
That's not true, Kevin. He was too busy flirting with his mistress.
Oh, right. In the end, family didn't matter to you.
That's not true.
Mike exclaimed in panic.
I've always cared for you guys. Sure, I had an affair and spent our savings on that woman, but you and your mom are what matter most. I worked hard and gave all my salary to Rachel, didn't I?
That's the least you could do. Nothing to brag about.
Kevin retorted firmly.
Since we're at it, I've always hated how you treated Mom, ever since I was a kid.
What? Really?
Of course, it's better when parents get along. My friends' families all share chores, but at our house, you just bossed everyone around. Mom loved me even though we weren't blood related. I loved her a lot. Then why were you so mean to her? Didn't you marry her because you loved her? I never understood that.
Kevin.
I saved my part-time earnings instead of spending them, and you just used them up and now expect me to take care of you? After how coldly you've always treated Mom, how can you say that to her?
Kevin, did you really think of me that way?
Mike stammered.
We used to be close, right? You love me more than your non-biological mother, don't you?
Even if we are blood related, I won't want a father like you. Mom's enough for me. It might be tough because of your condition, but I don't want anything to do with you anymore. Handle your own problems.
You're right, Kevin. He's so lacking in parental awareness. It's poo, even his own son can't stand him anymore. Leaving a dazed Mike in the lounge, Kevin and I went home together, feeling closer than ever. Mike, who had an affair with his boss's wife on a whim, was forced into divorce by me and disowned by Kevin, ending up all alone. Moreover, he had to pay a huge amount of debt for the compensation to his boss, medical expenses, and the car, and repaying Kevin's college fund. After his hospital discharge, Mike went to Robert's house, apologized, and begged to let him continue working at his company. Thanks to Robert's mercy, he wasn't demoted and started working from home. However, the rumor of his affair spread quickly. Whenever he went to the office, he faced whispers and eventually found it too uncomfortable, so he resigned. When Mike, having lost his job, asked his relatives for money, they initially sympathized, but once they found out he had spent Kevin's college savings, they all turned their backs on him. Eventually, his strict brother took him in, determined to set him straight. Meanwhile, Anna, kicked out after the divorce, rented an apartment from a relative and started living alone. She reluctantly began working on her computer and relied on a caregiver during the day, but her twisted personality led to constant conflicts. Refused by many, in the end, only the rudest caregivers would come, and Anna spent her days being scolded and crying. Finally free from Mike, I used the inheritance from my aunt and alimony from Anna to fund Kevin's college education. Using the remainder, I bought a condo and started enjoying living alone. No one to nag me about doing chores perfectly or worry about public image. I even restarted part-time work after 10 years. I'm living busy but fulfilling days. When Mike learned about my life, he sent me an unbelievable message recently.
Hey, you must be lonely without me, right? Maybe I should visit you sometime. You've depended on me all this time. You owe me.
I blocked him after his relentless messages. He must have asked Kevin for my address. Eventually, he showed up at my condo in a taxi, lurking around, so I called the police and had him arrested. It was just a warning this time, but he was also found loitering around Anna's apartment. When his brother picked him up from the police station, he was furious. Under his brother's supervision, Mike is now confined to his home, glued to his computer from dawn to dusk, working tirelessly to pay off his debts. Kevin, taking his father as a negative example, is diligently studying and enjoying his college life. Though we're not related by blood, Kevin is a son to me. I want to continue watching over his growth warmly.